Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you guys how to change an air filter for a 2003 to 2006 CBR. So let's get to it and let's talk about the equipment that you're actually going to need. So the first thing that you're actually going to need is a 4mm Allen wrench. You're also going to need a 5mm Allen wrench. You're going to need a big flathead screwdriver, though it isn't really a must, but it is nice to have. And with magnetic tips is really nice, so you don't lose your screws. That's a Phillips head or a crosshead screwdriver, and then also another flathead. Really, you just need one flathead and one Phillips would be enough. And then a magnet. Now that magnet is really nice to have in case you drop any bolts anywhere, and especially with those magnetic tips on the Phillips head and the screwdriver, very handy to have, so that way you don't lose your screws or your bolts. Really keeps things organized for you. And then you're going to be using a ratchet. Now you can use a 3/8 ratchet for this with a 12mm socket, right? That's the only socket you're actually going to need for this job. So that's pretty much all you need to change the filter on the CBR 600RR, at least 2003 to 2006. So let's jump into the action, guys. So the first thing that we're going to start with is the seat. We need to pull this thing out first so we can get to some bolts. And there's actually a couple bolts on the rear of the seat, but on my bike, the bolts are actually, they're not there. I just kind of had it slid in, but it's really not a big deal. Usually a 5mm Allen is all you need to take out those bolts, or maybe something else. Not really a big deal. All you got to do is pull the rear of the seat, just kind of pull it over a little bit, and you'll actually be able to get to those bolts, take those bolts right out, and then you can actually slide the seat back towards the rear of the bike. And there you have the two bolts right there, and you're going to have the front. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to break out your 5mm Allen. You're going to take off these rear bolts to the tank cover, and then you're going to go to the front of the tank cover, and you're going to take out those front two bolts that's right near the triple tree. You'll take out these two bolts right here, and then you're going to be going into the next thing, which is these side little fairings. You're going to use your little 5mm. You're going to take out, or actually, I'm sorry, 4mm, and you're going to take out these Allens. Now, the way this works is, with this fairing, is you actually, there's a little rivet in the front, or a little slot, where you'd pull the front of the bike, where my left hand's actually at right now. You'd actually pull that out, and you would actually slide it toward the front of the bike and then pull straight down is how you'd actually get out after you take out the bolt out of the bottom. Mine doesn't, it just has the bolt really equipped and it's just slid in the rear cowl, so it really isn't a big deal. And then we jump into using a Phillips. Now I'm actually using a non-magnetic one, but we're just taking out the Phillips rivets that are on the top of the fairing here. All right, we're going to pull that out, and then we're going to go to the other side, do that as well. Okay, and then on the side there, you want to use a flathead screwdriver. You can take out those bolts real easy. Now, we're going to move this out a little bit here, and we're going to try to take out this little piece right here. Now, this little piece actually clips right out. You can actually pull it down, and you can pull it right out. What some riders do actually is they take the front of it, and the front is actually slipped on a notch, and you can actually pull the front a little bit. They do bend a little bit. They do allow for a little bit of a bend, and you can pull that out, and then you can actually unequip the rear. Then you can actually unequip the fairing from the actual tank by, again, just pulling it down and then pulling it out towards yourself. And we're going to keep going here. Now we're just going to take out the bolts to the fairing. Now, on my particular bike, unfortunately, I laid it down a while back, and it's pretty cracked on that side, so it gets a little wacky whenever I'm taking this bolt out, but it's pretty easy, guys. You just take out that one bolt, so that way you can get to that fairing there, and we can pull it right out. And then we go right into the tank, and we're going to take out these side bolts there with our Allen wrench here. All right, we take those things out, and now the tank is completely empty. You don't have to take the top cover out. You can just pull the cover out. I mean, the cap is what I meant to say, but you can just take that tank cover right out, slide it out just the way I'm doing it. Try to avoid scratching it or hurting it in any way, and there's the actual tank. So we're really opening this thing up. So now we're using a Phillips. Now this is really where you want to use a magnetic Phillips head, because it's really easy to lose your screws. So what we're doing is taking off the rear cover for the ECU. And once you take that, there's two bolts you take out for that with your Phillips head, and then you're going to start working on your air box. So right now I'm actually using my Phillips head, taking out all the screws that hold the air box on the bike here, taking out all those things, right? There's quite a few bolts, so you just want to make sure you don't lose those things. Maybe put them in a container. Yeah, there's my magnet right there, making sure, I'm getting a hold of those bolts. That's why magnets are really nice to have. Sometimes you do lose them. And since I wasn't using a magnetic tip on my Phillips head right there, I was losing them. So just be aware of that, guys, that you can lose those things really, really easy. And having a magnetic tip on your Phillips head or having a magnet is really, really nice. So once we get all that, we're taking out, there's quite a few bolts, honestly, to take the air box out. It takes a bit, but you'll see them all. They'll be right there available. So we pull the air box cover off here, and then there's a little O2 sensor. Now, the way the O2 sensor works is you actually put your thumb on the top of the clip, as I'm showing you guys right here, and you actually put your finger on it, and once you push down on it, you can pull the O2 sensor right off. It's real easy, not a big deal. Very simple. And now you're going to use your Phillips head again. You're going to take off these Phillips head bolts right here. Get all those things out. There's 3 of them. And then you're going to pull your air filter out. It just slides right out of there. There's a notch. And there's the old air filter. Actually, that air filter is actually quite clean. Looks really good. But we're going to be putting in a K&N air filter to give a little bit more airflow to the bike. So we're just going to hurry up and vacuum everything out of the inside of there. Make sure you get all that cleaned out. I mean, whenever you have the bike opened up like this is the best time to clean out the inside of that thing. Make sure there's no dust or anything in there. You don't want any of that getting in your motor. So get it all cleaned out before you put in your new air filter. And you'll put your new air filter, slide that sucker right down in there. You're going to apply your 3 bolts. And it's pretty simple, honestly. When you get to this point, it's pretty simple. And then you do everything in reverse. Now, my lighting is a lot better now because I actually was using bad lighting before. I do apologize for that. So now we got a lot better lighting. You guys can actually see what's actually going on. So we're just going to do everything in reverse. So we're putting on the airbox cover back on, right? Slipping that thing back on. And we're going to get everything all tightened down, right? We got all this sped up so we don't be here all day doing this. But we're getting this thing all screwed down. Everything's getting locked in place as it should be. And you want to make sure you put your front cover. Now, something I didn't mention earlier is that you see how the tank is actually tilted back. There's actually 2 bolts you take out with your 12mm socket, and I'll point to those things right now. You take out one of those on each side, and the tank actually just tilts back. You don't need to unhook anything from the tank. Just take those bolts out, tilt it back, and you can put something under there to pry it up. I'm actually using my cable on the side that you're seeing right now underneath the tank. It doesn't weigh very much. There really isn't any gas in this thing, just very little. So that cable that I have is just holding it up and keeping it tilted back so I can actually get to everything regarding the airbox, the ECU cover, and so on. There we go. We put the ECU cover back on. We pull the cable from the tank. We drop it down. We're going to slap in these bolts from the side. Those are 12mm right there. Tighten those babies down, get them all tightened up, and then we start putting the cover. So first is, when you start back all over, you start putting on your tank. Put on your tank cover first, tighten up the side bolts there on the side, and then we're going to start messing with the side fairings. Now, when it comes to the fairing, putting it back in, the easiest way to slap that fairing in there, you just put in the front of that fairing in first. You'll slide it in, and then you can actually bend it down towards the bike, slip it in underneath the tank cover, drop to the right a little bit, and then it'll pop right in. It's pretty simple once you do it a few times. And then, of course, I got that cracked fairing, which, by the way, I do have new fairings for the bike, but I'm using these for now because I'm going to be doing a track day later on this year. So we're just going to keep the old fairings on for now. We're going to tighten up all these bolts, tighten up all these fairings back up. And we're just about done with this baby, man. Getting her all lipped up, tightening up all these bolts, right? I'm actually putting in some extra bolts that I didn't have originally on the bike. But we're getting everything back logged in, getting her all set up. And again, whenever you're sliding in these fairings on the side, you want to slide it underneath the rear cowl first. You'll slide it in, and you'll actually slide back towards the bike. So you clip it in, you slide back towards the back of the bike, and everything else should fall into place, right? I don't even exactly have that fairing lined up quite correctly, but I ended up fixing it later. There you go, guys. The bike is completely done. She's all fixed up and ready to rock and roll. So that's pretty much how you change an air filter on a 2003 to 2006 CBR 600RR. I do apologize, guys, for some of the lighting. I'll try to do better in future videos regarding that, or maybe some of the quality didn't look really the greatest. I'm still trying to get used to using a GoPro. So hopefully this will help somebody out there as far as doing a filter change on this model CBR. So guys, let me know if you change your air filter on your bikes and how difficult you thought it was whenever you change yours. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See you, everybody. Take care.